Redux Observable, a library from Rx middleware for Redux. It's used for compose and cancel async actions to create side effects, like Redux Saga. Today we will use Redux Observable with Redux along with Gatsby project. Follow along and don't forget to subscribe and share. And let's get started. So this is the startup Gatsby. Let's start first by installing our dependencies. Rx.js and Redux, React Redux and Redux Observable. We will keep this installing and let's go and use our state. In the main directory, I'm going to make a state directory. And then inside it define my index.js where it is the state and also a wrapper. A wrapper is just a provider that will wrap every page with a provider from Redux. So first we import React Redux and we import Rx.js. And then we import configure store that will be set up later. And then we make export default for our config provider. The provider take an element as a props and then return a provider with element as a children. The provider take a store as a props and then we pass our store to the provider. And now let's go and implement this wrapper. So in Gatsby SSR, which is server-side rendering, we will wrap our element with our wrapper. We will also do the same with Gatsby browser. With that setup, let's go and make our store. So in the index inside the state, we will import create store and we will export default our configure store. I will make an array of all middlewares. And then we will make configure store function that will take apply middleware, inject create store in it. Then we will make our store instance that will take the root reducer. And then we return the store. I'm going also to check if there is reductive tools injected in the browser. So I'm detecting if there is the reductive tools so I can debug my code. First, I will do check if the window object is exist. Then reductive tools. If there is, then it will be returned. Otherwise, undefined will be returned. I will pass my function, created function, as a second argument in configure store. Now we will go and make our root reducer. So I'm gonna import root reducer from reducers. This directory is not created yet, so I'm gonna create it, and inside it I will make index. I will import combine reducers from Redux and then I will export combine reducers. Combine reducers take an object and combine all the reducers there. I will import also create epic middleware from Redux Observable and then I will make a new middleware and execute this function. This will return an instance of middleware and then I will push this middleware to my middlewares. Before they return to store, I need to run the epic middleware, and this is take the root middlewares. The root middlewares is the same as the root reducer. It's combined all the epics. So I will make directory with epics and I will insert it from combine epics. I'll export all the combine epics. I will go and make our user reducer. So the reducer actually in Redux state is take the state as a first argument and the actions. We will define our initial state. The initial state take the loading false and then error and data. And we will pass as default argument to the state. We will make also the constant action types. We will use fetching success and fetching failure. Normally the state it should be returned, but we don't do anything with the reducer now. So we will check if the action type is fetching, then I will use object assign and say loading is true and error null and data is null. I'm using object assign instead of separate operator, but you are free to use any one of them. Now this type of action is just for fetching, so let's create for fetching success and fetching for failure. For fetching success, we return the data from payload action that comes from action payload, and for failure we return in the payload the error. Let's go and start also by creating our action creators. So I will do fetching and then return type of fetching, also fetching success that takes the argument of users, and then it will return the fetching success with type payload as users. I will create my base URL for fetching the users. I will create my fetching epic actions. So this will take actions as an argument and it will return a pipe. And type of the actions it will be fetching and it will merge it to the map. This will take a function and return a Rx-Redux-Gatsby, and then we will pipe the return value from this call. I will use map helper function from Rx to map all the results to the fetching success, and then I will catch any error and return it in the payload of the failure action. These helper functions provided from Rx operators. Here I will use also the URL random user API, and I will export my fetching action creators. I will also use my reducer in the combine reducers, and I will import it and assign it to users as a reducer. I will also make the use of the fetching epic, and I will import it in my combine epics. As you can see, combine epics take an argument of epic, unlike combine reducers as an object. Now let's make our containers. In my pages I will go and delete all this code and make a new container. I will call it home container. Home container will be in directory of containers. This directory is not created yet, so let's go and create it. I will make file called home, and then I will export default my connect function, which is imported from React Redux. Normally I will use the container just to connect with the component, and everything about the logic will be inside the container, while the component will receive just the props. I will make map state and map dispatch, and then I will know that the state will receive the user's state, and I will call it user's state and map it to as a user's. In dispatch I will say start fetching and then dispatch the fetching function. The fetching action creator is not imported yet, so I need to import it from reducers, user reducers. Next we will make our component. I will make a home component inside my components. I will use the code snippets, and here I'm saying this component will receive just the data as a users, and the users will take the data, error and loading, and then it will take also the fetching action. I will destructure my props and then use it inside the div and checking if there is loading, so it will return loading, otherwise I will map all the users data. For this API the users will be inside the results. So I'm restarting the server now, and I sense there is a typo, so the function is a start fetching and I need to use it inside my use effect is like the component did mount. And as you can see the users, and in the Redux diff tools we can see the fetching users. Now I'm going to use my component where I'm sending the results of the data. I will import this component as you can see, and then refresh the browser and we got our users. That's it for this tutorial. Don't forget to check the links below. Thank you for watching and see you next time.